I'd like to welcome everyone tonight to the Newman City Council for the month of May 24th, 2016. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag and remain standing for the invocation. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we bow in prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come this evening. We pray that you will guide this council and our staff as we work to improve and continue the good work that's going on in Newman. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Davis. Graham. Here. Candia.
Here.
Day.
Here.
Mayor Martina.
Present. Declaration of conflict of interest. There being none tonight, we'll move on to ceremonial matters. Tonight, we're very fortunate to have the CEO of the county, Mr. Ken Risen, who's going to give a
Stan Risen.
I'm sorry?
Stan
I'm
Risen.
sorry, Stan. Anyway, tonight he's going to give a presentation on prevention, and this has to do with homeless, correct?
Much broader, but we'll share with you.
Oh, Jim's going to make the presentation.
Supervisor DeMartini's going to kick it off.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, Mayor Martina, council members, staff. We're kind of doing this together there, although our Chief Executive Officer, Stan Risen, will be making the main presentation. But the focus on prevention is a county program to improve the lives of the homeless. Actually, it's to keep them from ever getting there in the first place. You can see the problem we're having with the addiction and people out on the street is symptomatic of a problem that's failed. Whatever we're doing now, it's not really working. So the county is trying to get ahead of that and to keep that person from ever getting out in the street to begin with. This is a very long-term effort. We're going to be years on this, and it's taken us a long time to get to this point. So we're trying to reverse the trend now. Most of the problems with people that are out on the street is usually addiction and mental illness. But if we could catch it sooner and prevent that person from ever getting there in the first place, is what our goal is. So this is a county effort, but we have a lot of partners too. I think the important thing that to remember is that the government is just not the answer to it all. It's a coalition of people, faith-based groups, and business community, and community organizations all working together to try and make a positive change in there. Perhaps I think strengthening families to me is one of the most important parts of this, in dealing with mental illness and addiction, of course, but in strong families, children growing up under better guidance, they're less likely to get involved in gangs and drugs and crime and won't get that. Because we spend a lot of money on this problem already. We think, it's that we've heard as high as 70% of the budget, goes to dealing with these issues when you look at the incarceration and jails and mental illness and medical care that we have to provide for people that maybe we could get in front of that and prevent that from happening in the first place. The dividends of a successful program will really pay off, but keep in mind, it is a long-term project, and we need partners to do it. It's just not ourselves as a county. We can sort of spearhead it and get it going, but we need other people to help us. And your CEO will talk about the Stewardship Council and how we plan to do that. So I'm just kind of opening it up for him. I think it's a great program we've got. It's got full board support. We put some money into it, and we're in it for the long run. So Stan?
Well, thank you for having us here this evening, and it's a real privilege to be out here and to share with you, I think, what is one of the more exciting things in my career. I've been associated with government in one way or another for close to 30 years. Even spent 11 and a half years as an elected official in the city of Ceres, serving as a council member. So I've seen things from a number of perspectives, and I have to tell you, this is probably the most exciting effort that I've ever been involved in my career, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule tonight to allow us to come out and share a little bit. Supervisor DeMartini shared with you, we got looking at our county budget one day, and we're just over $1.1 billion, and it struck us that over 75% of that entire budget's about treating symptoms of a broken society. Whether it's our sheriff, with his patrol and detention, our probation department, our public defender, our district attorney, our mental health programs, we're about dealing with brokenness. And a number of years ago, I had a chance to sit in on a day where they talked about community transformation, and they said if you're ever going to see true community transformation, you're going to have to involve what they called 7 sectors of your community, and you're going to have to figure out how to get everybody rowing together. And you know, that kind of resonated with me, but that effort that they were trying to start didn't go anywhere. And then shortly after Supervisor Terry Withrow got elected to the Board of Supervisors, he had never been in government before, and we had brought an agenda item to him, and I remember him making the statement, doggone it, I wish we could spend more of our resources treating the disease rather than treating the symptoms. And it was one of those quotes as a staff member that you just kind of logged away, because it resonated once again with me that we do spend a lot of time just trying to put Band-Aids on something that really needs to go much deeper and get more proper treatment. And as Supervisor DeMartini said, you know, government alone can't be the answer if we're really going to see the kind of change we want. I came into government a little cynical almost 30 years ago, and having been in government 30 years, I'm more cynical than ever that we can't do it by ourselves. We've got to find a way to engage the entire community, and so that's what this effort is about. And as Supervisor DeMartini said, it's a 10-year commitment on the part of the county to improving the quality of life for all our residents of Stanislaus County. A lot of people confuse this with a homeless initiative, and I'm telling you, it's not really focused on prevention to prevent homelessness. It's focused on prevention about improving the quality of life for every resident of Stanislaus County. And it just happens that one of the first areas that there was a lot of energy that we're focusing on is homelessness. As I shared with you, it's about getting all the sectors of our community engaged and about breaking down silos and aligning our efforts. I remember when I first started trying to figure out what our homeless service patchwork looked like in our county, I got invited out to this, it's called the COC, Continuum of Care. And I went out expecting to see about 7 or 8 people that would kind of meet and focus on homeless. I was shocked when there were over 50 people in the room, representing about 40 different programs for homeless. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize there were so much resources dedicated to homelessness. But 2 weeks later, I got invited to another group that was more the faith-based sector. They had about 12, 15 folks focused on homeless. And of course, I had the logical question, how come these folks aren't meeting with these folks? As I began diving in, I found it was even worse than I thought. I learned about 2 programs, just an example of about our silos. One was a 30-day program focused on supportive services, helping people get trained on anger management and financial management, a number of those things. And then over here we had a program that's a long-term supportive housing program. But do you know that if you participate in the 30-day program, you no longer meet HUD's definition of homeless and are ineligible to go into the long-term supportive housing program? And yet you and I know that if you go right into the long-term supportive housing program and you don't learn how to deal with your anger and you put your fist through the wall, you're no longer going to have housing, you're going to get booted. It's just an example of how we're operating in silos. In fact, as we've gone out with this message, nobody's arguing with me that we're in these hundreds of silos. And they're ready. They've just been saying we've needed somebody, some vehicle to corral us all together so that we could begin aligning our efforts and working in a more coordinated fashion. Our focus is one on prevention, but along the way we realize that there's an appropriate place for Band-Aids sometimes. And so we realize we have to deal with some of the current issues while we laid the seeds for dealing with long-term prevention. And finally, this is a commitment to, as far as why this is different, to learning and mutual accountability. What I've learned and observed over the years is people will go after a grant. And in order to make that grant happen, they go hire people. And the minute you've gone and hired somebody, you have a vested interest in making sure that program continues, whether it's effective or not. What we want to do is we're following and focus on prevention what's called a results-based accountability model that says we need to figure out where we're going first, and then we have to have measurable data and indicators to know whether we're making progress on getting to where we want to go. And if we're not, we need to abandon our current strategies and get on board with those strategies that will actually make a difference. So we start with the results. We figure out how we're going to measure whether we're making progress, and only then do we begin developing strategies to help us get there. Originally, we had 4 focus areas: reducing homelessness, strengthening families, investing in children and youth, and reducing recidivism. You will see that word original because what we're trying to do in this effort is allow the community to guide and drive this where it goes. So you ask, well, how'd you come up with those 4 areas? I've been asked many a time, and to be honest, I just came up with them. But one of the things I had to learn early in this process was this isn't about my agenda. This is about where the community wants to take it. And the community saw those and they said, we don't like them because they focus on our problems rather than what we want to become. And so I'm going to share with you where the community, through the Stewardship Council, has taken this in a minute. Our focus on prevention highlights 10 sectors. You will see them around the outside of the logo there: business, education, faith-based, government, health, media, neighborhoods, nonprofits, philanthropy, and arts, sports, and entertainment. I will tell you, some of these are partners that we're not traditionally used to working with. I remember when I invited somebody from the arts and entertainment sector to come be part, or sports, to be part of our group. They said, I don't see how I fit in. And I said, well, just trust us, because we need everyone at the table bringing their different viewpoints and their different talents. And so recently, one of our representatives on the arts sector, in the arts and entertainment sector, said, I can't wait to share with you this exciting idea we've come up with about how to come alongside the homeless initiative. And it was neat seeing somebody that's not a traditional sector partner figure out how they fit in to helping deal with our community challenges. This effort is, we put together a couple infrastructures. The first to provide leadership is the Stewardship Council. We invited 2 key influencers from each of the 10 sectors to join this council. And I got to tell you, these are amazing key kind of community stakeholders. And they've been dedicating about a half day a month to helping shepherd this effort. They're responsible for providing overall leadership and support. They've developed some overarching results of where we want to be as a community 4 years from now. I'll share those with you in a minute. And lately they've been tasked with going out into their sectors and sharing the focus on prevention story. So for example, last week our 2 faith sector leaders, which is Jeff Fishney of Love Your Cities and Clebell Moore from Christ Unity Church in Modesto, they held a faith summit in which we invited every faith leader in our county to come to a half-day summit on focus on prevention. And we had about 170 key faith leaders come together and learn this story that we're sharing with you tonight. And I got to tell you, they were a very energized and excited group to talk about how we can come together to address some of these challenges. The other infrastructure piece we have is our action councils. And we started, our first action council was a homeless action council. We probably had over 150 people participated at one time or another. They probably average about 60 people. And they've actually come up with a strategy that I'll be sharing with you just shortly. We have some guiding values. The first one is that there are no others. When we started with our initial focus on homelessness, our facilitator said, you know, one of the things that concerns me about starting with homelessness is that people not view this as an us and them journey. And I could understand that because it's easy, if we're not careful, to stereotype homeless people or stereotype people that have been involved in our criminal justice system, for example. And we don't want this to be about us and them, because this is about all of us. And so we adopted this guiding value that there are no others. I can tell you, I've had family members that have been homeless. I've had family members that have been involved in the criminal justice system. We're not talking about us and them, we're talking about all of us. Our second guiding value is one of compassion and empathy. When you really hear people's stories, you find that they don't always fit our stereotypes. Some people lost a job and consequently they lost the home, and that's why they're out on the streets homeless. For somebody else it is substance abuse or addiction. Everyone has their own story. And as we learn that story and we develop compassion and empathy for them as a human being, we have ability to really make a change. Respect and dignity is another guiding value. You know, I'll just use homeless for example. I read a very powerful book recently called Toxic Charity. And in that book, they talk about the difference between a food line and a food pantry. And in the food line, you have the benefactors, those who have donated the food and are serving the food. And then you have those who are the recipients, who in some ways are leaving their dignity behind because they have to come to you for help as the great benefactor, and they feel embarrassed and almost humbled by the fact that they're having to go ask for food. In a food bank kind of issue, the benefactors or a pantry, they fill a closet full of stuff, and then you come and buy it at cents on the dollar. And it completely changes the dialogue when now you feel like you walked out and got a good deal, right? You participated in the purchase and got a good deal. I saw that myself. I was helping out this homeless kid who was trying to raise money for his family, and he was a vagrant in a shopping center. And so I offered to pay for one of their night hotels. And so, you know, he had a very down demeanor when I was going to pay for his hotel for that night for his family. And I said, how would you like to work with me at Love Series tomorrow? If you're interested, I'll pick you up and you can earn another night's wage by working with me alongside Love Series. So he came and worked with me all morning at Love Series, and I gave him money at the end of the day. I got to tell you, his countenance was entirely different because he was able to go tell Mom, I earned tonight's hotel stay. See, that's how to provide services with respect and dignity. And then we talked about mutual accountability. So here's our overarching results that the Stewardship Council has developed. Number one, that our families are healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Number two is that our families are supported by strong and safe neighborhoods and communities. Number three, that our children and young people are getting a first-rate education from cradle to career. And number four, that our families are participating in and supported by a healthy economy. So that is where, those are our overarching results that this whole effort is going to try to align everybody's work with now, so that we measure everything by how we're doing in those four result areas. And one of our asks for you this evening is that you consider endorsing and supporting those four overarching result areas as your own. and that you consider how you can join us in this journey. Here's our homeless initiative. I know it's too hard to read on the screen, and I'm not going to I've taken too much time already this evening, but if you were to look at this in detail, you'd see down the left side is our results-based accountability. We start at the top with results. We then have our indicators, how we're going to measure that we're making progress, and then we have our strategies. And the first one, and really a lot of this is about coordination, coordinated access, coordinated support services, developing engagement teams. I will just say briefly, we had a homeless summit last October. We had over 500 folks at that summit. We had 8 people with lived experience with homeless share their story. In almost every case, it wasn't a program or service that made a difference in their life. It was somebody who cared about them personally and engaged in their life. In one case, it was a police officer who was arresting a guy who had been living in Graceda Park for 2 years. He said, "I see so much more potential for you." In another gal's case, she had been a victim of domestic violence, and she was living in the graveyards for her own protection. When our social worker came out to try to engage with her, she wanted nothing to do with him, and he came out day after day after day trying to build a relationship and trust. And here she was in front of 500 people sharing her story. So our priorities for this year is to continue developing the strategies around homelessness. We want to, of the 4 result areas that I shared with you, we want to work with the community to find which of those areas they want to focus on first. We want to begin developing our data and infrastructure, so how we'll know we're measuring progress. And then we want to begin doing what we're doing tonight, is sharing our story, beginning the sector development, and trying to get people to join us in this journey. So with that, I'll wrap it up and be happy to answer any questions or hear any comments that you have.
Any questions? I have a comment. You know, several months ago, we were going pretty strong as far as homeless, and it seemed like we were having meetings. And I don't know, for some reason, I've not heard anything recently about meetings, because we've had meetings. I think we had a meeting in Patterson, and I think we were scheduled to have one in Newman. And I don't know what occurred, but it seemed like we lost our steam. We were moving pretty good. For some reason, we fell off our bandwagon. I don't know. So I think this is very good tonight, because everyone cares about homeless people. They should anyway, because like you said, I know in my life, I'm sure I've had homeless people in my life, and my family and stuff. So anyway, so just to let you know that we were doing pretty good, but for some reason, you know, we stopped. I don't know why.
Well, we'll try to get it re-energized. I will tell you, just today, the board, as part of our mid-year budget, approved a new position called Housing and Supportive Services Coordinator. And just today, I was conducting interviews to hire somebody to that position. So the board has stepped up and said, we're willing to take leadership here. And so we have somebody that we'll be hiring in the next several weeks whose sole task will be creating the energy and the coordination behind our homeless efforts.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for
We
having
very
us here.
appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
With that, we move to item 7. Items for the public. This is non-agenda items, so if there's anyone tonight that would like to speak before the council. Being no one, we'll move on to item 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the May 10th, 2016 meeting. D, adopt resolution number 2016 next number, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman approving the calculation of the maximum garbage collection rate per priority contractual agreement. E, adopt resolution number 2016 next number, authorizing the city manager or his designee to apply for fundings from the California Beverage Container Grant Payment Program and to execute all necessary documents.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as read.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made and second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carried with 4 yes and 1 absent. Number 9 is the public hearing. There is none tonight. Number 10 would be regular business. A, adopt resolution number 2016, a resolution creating a retirement medical plan option for eligible retirees and establish eligibility requirements for participation in the City of Newman's pre-65 retirement medical prescription plan.
Mayor, our city clerk, Mike Meyer, is going to handle this item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight we have a report on the retiree medical plan for eligible retirees that we'd like you to consider. The San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority, SJVIA for short, was formed in 2009 by Fresno and Tulare counties for the purpose of achieving enhanced purchasing power and reduced administrative costs, for employee health insurance. Since the SJVIA's inception, it has grown to include more than 25 member agencies. The City of Newman joined the SJVIA in 2014, as a means of providing quality medical benefits to our employees at a lower cost. As a benefit of membership in the SJVIA, the City of Newman is afforded the opportunity to provide pre-Medicare eligible retirees the ability to purchase health insurance coverage. This proposed plan would allow the city to offer retirees the option of purchasing some of the same medical and prescription drug plans packages that are offered to other regular full-time employees. Retirees would be responsible for 100% of the premiums and other costs, including a city fee that would offset the cost associated with the administration of the plan. Only retirees with a minimum of 5 years of service would be eligible to participate in the plan. And if approved by the City Council, the program would be effective July 1, and those employees who retire after July 1 would be eligible to participate. Staff feels that the creation of the pre-65 medical prescription retiree plan would provide a valuable added benefit to employees at no cost to the city. This plan is designed to help those employees who retire at age 65 bridge the gap from the insurance gap between their retirement date and their Medicare eligibility. Staff recommends that the council adopt Resolution 2016, next to number, creating a retiree medical plan for eligible retirees and establishing eligibility requirements for participation in the plan. And attached to your resolution, I believe, is the plan itself and those requirements. I can answer any questions.
I guess the way I'm reading this, just to, confirm is basically it just allows retirees to have access to a group plan for more of a discount than going out on their own, is the base of the
Exactly.
eligibility.
And only for those years between
Right.
when they retire and they become Medicare eligible. It does extend to their dependents as well.
Right.
So those dependents could stay on until they reach Medicare age or age 26 if it's a dependent child.
Outstanding.
Sounds like a good program.
And the employee pays the administrative fee too?
They pay the administrative fee to offset the costs such as billing, monthly billing. We're going to have to bill them monthly. And then annually, we would need to do an open enrollment. And then also there would be, if there were any dependent changes, that kind of thing throughout the year.
So there's really no cost to the city.
No, and we vetted this through, Lou helped me out, and we vetted this through the accountant to make sure that there were any liabilities or, anything hidden in the weeds, and they verified that everything was copacetic.
Kind of like the Cobra plan.
Yeah.
Somewhat
Sort of.
similar, yeah.
Okay, council direction?
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2016, next number. A resolution creating a retiree medical plan option for eligible retirees and establishing eligibility requirements for participation in the City of Newman pre-65 retiree medical/prescription plan.
A second.
Okay, a motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. 4 yes and 1 absent. Item B on regular business. Report of USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Application. One is adopt resolution number 2016, next number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Application. And two is adopt resolution number 2016, next number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Authorization.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you is a proposed grant application for the USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant. The draft application has been prepared by Self-Help Enterprises in response to drought conditions affecting the West Mariposa Street area immediately outside of the city limits. The project area includes 12 homes, of which the majority's wells have gone dry due to the lowered groundwater table levels. With council's approval, the grant application would be submitted to the USDA for consideration. If awarded, the city, in conjunction with Self-Help Enterprises in Stanislaus County, would work together on the project. The city would act as the lead agency, since it's our water system that would be extended. Self-Help Enterprises would assist with grant management, and Stanislaus County would provide project design, plan specifications. They would manage the project bid and construction process. Since we'd be the lead agency, we would essentially reimburse them for the construction costs and everything via grant requests. If the grant is unsuccessful, the project area residents would need to find an alternate source of funding, as there is no current funding available for such a project. It's over $100,000 for this type of project, just to extend the line 1,200 feet. Therefore, it's recommended that the City Council authorize staff to negotiate an agreement with Stanislaus County for the design and construction of the project, and adopt both resolutions authorizing an application and designating grant signers. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? No questions from the council? Should we take this as two parts, or just?
Yes, probably better,
Okay.
since there's two
Let's-
separate.
Let's do this. First one, adopt resolution number 2000, next number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Application. Do we have,
I motion that we adopt resolution next number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistant Grant Application.
okay. Motion's been
Second.
made. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4 yes and 1 absent. Two is adopt resolution number 2016, next number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Authorization.
And I'll move that we adopt resolution 2016, next in number, USDA Emergency Community Water Assistance Grant Authorization.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4 yes and 1 absent. Thank you very much, Steve. C, report on lighting and landscaping maintenance district for fiscal year 2016-2017. 1, adopt resolution number 2016, next number, approving the annual report for the lighting and landscape maintenance district for fiscal year 2016-2017. And 2 is adopt resolution number 2016, next number, declaring its intent to levy and collect assessments for the lighting and landscape maintenance district for fiscal year 2016-2017.
Yeah, good evening, City Mayor and council members. Pursuant to the Landscape Lighting Act of 1972, the City of Newman has a total of 15 zones within LLD in various locations throughout the city. The 15 zones represent the general nature, location, and extent of improvement to be maintained, with an estimate of cost to maintain and service the improvement. The improvement provided within the district include, but not limited to, the weekly operation, maintenance, and servicing of all public landscaping improvement, weed abatement, sidewalks, irrigation system, lighting system, and graffiti removal within the public right-of-way. In 2010, the LLD rates were increased through a Proposition 218 process. The district also approved an annual cost of living inflator, which is based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, for all urban consumers. It is staff's recommendation that the rate be increased by the CPI 3.02% for fiscal year 2016 and 17. As required by the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972, it is recommended that adopt a resolution approving the annual report for the LLD for fiscal year 2016 and 17. The second, adopt a resolution declaring its intention to levy and collect assessment for LLD for fiscal year 2016-17 and conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, June 28, 2016 at 7 p.m. I can answer to any question you may have.
Any questions for the council? Okay, we'll take this in two parts, the same as the last motion. Anyone want to take the first item, adopt the resolution of 2016, next item?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution number 2016, next number, approving the annual report for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2016, 2017.
I'll second that.
A motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4 yes and 1 absent.
And I'll make a motion we adopt resolution number 2016, next number, declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2016, 2017.
Second that.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 11, District 5, Stanislaus County Supervisor, Mr. Jim D. Martini.
Good evening again. I just have a few things for you tonight. First of all, the Healthcare Task Force has met in Gustine last week, and we were discussing the Health Summit, and some decisions have been made. Our next meeting is June 30th, right here in Newman, provided your room is available. See, I call it the old council chambers, but I know that you have another name for it. But if there's a problem with using it on June 30th, be sure to let me know. Our Health Summit is set for sure on August 25th, and we will be weighing out in Gustine this year. 9 weeks. We've extended the weight loss contest to 9 weeks instead of 8, so we can have more activities with youth on that day. I do have a couple of things on the Crow's Landing Air Base, and I've got prepared for me by Chief Executive Office Assistant Keith Boggs. The time that the EIR report is supposed to be out is going to be at the end of August, and that will be it. Then it will be opened up for public comment, and then we will begin trying to get the place developed. Depending on what the comments are, then we'll get the project description. The Navy is responsible for all the cleanup, and I know I've been asked about this before, that the county is not paying for any of the cleanup, and there's been a lot of it because the military was created a lot of environmental problems there. They probably spent, we think, $15 to $20 million cleaning up this base. Apparently, what the military did was when they got through with something, they'd dig a hole and just dump it in, and so they've dug it all up again. And I mean, they even dumped, the bullets and bombs and everything else there. So we had to get insurance for unexploded ordnances in case when we dug that up, if it exploded or something, we'd have some insurance coverage. It's a very unusual type of insurance coverage to get. But anyway, they have paid for everything. There are different parcels out there that had problems. They have been just returned to us. The last parcel left was 80-acre piece on the east side. That has now been cut down to 16 acres. And that is a water contamination problem where they used to wash off their aircraft there with a type of solvent. They didn't, of course, catch it and reuse it or dispose of it, so it went down into the soil, contaminated the water. So the Navy is working on that now with some. They're going to extract the water out, treat it, and put some type of enzyme into it to clean it up. That will probably take 4 or 5 years to actually clean up that plume. But all that we can start, we don't need that 16 acres to get started. So at least everything else is done except for that. And the contamination is underground, so it's not like we can walk on it or do whatever we want while they're filtering this water. So they are paying for it all, and they have returned. It was about 6 or 8 parcels that they were working on. They've just returned to us. So we were coming along with that. The board has committed a substantial amount of money into getting that thing into a business park. We have to put the road into it. We have to bring in utilities. We have to hook into a sewer system. We have to take care of storm drainage. With storm drainage there has actually been more of an issue than we thought it would because of the slope of the ground. It looks flat, but it's not. And so we will be moving on that. We haven't run into any obstacles yet. I can, Keith Boggs wanted to be sure that you understood there will be no rail into this thing at all, and unlike the last time, none. It will be airport, business park, and we will be using the sewer system that comes down the hill from Diablo Grande and flows into Patterson. So we have that done. So anyway, it's coming along. It's slow, but you know, we had our opportunity and blew it one time, so we're going to try and do it this time right. And county is in full control of this project now. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was in the South County corridor. You know, I've talked about this before. We've hired a consultant who was sifting through different routes to get from Highway 99 to Highway 5. They started out with about 100 routes. They're now down to 3. And so it's supposed to take another 2 years before environmental work and everything that goes into planning a highway is done. And, you know, I had a question, you know, the 3 different proposals were all about the same price. They were around $260 million, $262, even though the routes were quite different, as one of them came to the south, didn't require a bridge. One of them required a new bridge across the San Joaquin River, another one, and then also an interchange at Zacharias Road. So at StanCog, this last meeting, here was on the agenda $190 million for an interchange at Zacharias Road, separate from the South County corridor. And there is no funding right now for the South County corridor because we haven't done studies yet. They're a couple of years away. So anyway, I have requested Patterson justify that $190 million and how they can put that in. It just happens to be the same route as the consultant's 2 other options over there. But the question I think that we all have to really look at is that how can the engineer's estimate of $260 million, which is from all the way from Highway 99 to Highway 5, be $260 million and the first 3 miles at $190 million? Just the figures just absolutely do not add up. So I've asked for some clarification. I don't know what the answer is going to be, but there's something not right there. And I don't really have a problem. They want to do something in Zacharias Road, but I think they should be a little bit more honest about what they're doing and be a little bit more forthright of what this actual project is going to cost going from Highway 99 to the north rather than the south. So I just wanted to make you aware of that, that there is some question about the cost on that. And that's all I have this evening, unless you have a question about something.
Well, thank you for clarifying that in the corridor. I think that's a big thing. It seems like with the airfield being developed, going through there is probably the best because it helps Newman, it helps Patterson, and it's right next to the airfield. It's kind of all 3.
Well, this was just appeared in the StanCog agenda.
Right.
And I looked at that and I said, you know, how can this be? How can you have, you know, $190 million, I realize it's not as much as it used to be, but it's still a lot of money.
It's called
And
politics.
it is just, you know, appears in a one little line item out of a whole thick packet. It must have been an inch thick, and there's this one line item, $190 million.
Sounds
as
like a bridge to
regional,
nowhere.
local projects. So,
Interesting.
so anyway, and there's no justification of how they reached that figure.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just in my opinion, Stancog is kind of so-so anyway, but this, you know, when you're going through that kind of money, the public deserves an explanation of this. And the discrepancy between the $260 million for the entire project and 190 for the first 3 miles really seems like deserves more than just a kind of a passive explanation. So hopefully we will get that. And I just wanted to make the city of Newman aware of what was on that Stancog agenda. You won't find it in the Modesto Bee or any other paper.
Yeah.
And in fact, you'd have to, even going through the Stancog agenda, you'd have to practically look at it with a magnifying glass to find that in there. Anyway, I found it, so I just wanted to let you know about it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for keeping us posted on that, Jim. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim. Yeah, it's kind of hard to understand some of these things, but that's life.
Do your due diligence there.
Well, thank you very much. Item 12, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just one item that was in your consent package tonight that the public didn't hear was garbage rates are actually being lowered, which is pretty non-traditional in a government-type setting. Traditionally, costs continue to go up. But we were able to negotiate some factors into the contract that we have with Berlotti's that takes into an account the CPI as well as our tipping fees. Well, through those negotiations, we've actually been able to lower our garbage rate. So I can guarantee you're going to look around anybody else in Stanislaus County, and you probably in San Joaquin, and none of them are lowering their rates right now. So I just want to let the public know that. Maybe we'll reach out to our local newspaper, and they can maybe do an article on that to show that we are being prudent with our taxpayers' monies, even though that is a service they pay for. With that, Mayor, you did ask a little bit tonight about, or you talked to Mr. Risen about the Homelessness Summit. We had reached out to Patterson a number of times to see when we were going to get that, and that never materialized. So we'll have to go back and try to reach out to them again. And we called a lot at the beginning of the year. We were waiting for the Action Council and the Stewardship Council to come out with some results, and some of that was based upon the point-in-time count that occurred in January, where our fire chief and our planner went out and counted. Unfortunately, we never connected with them, and they never were able to give us times and dates that they were available on. But we'll reach back out and see if we can't re-energize that program over there. So, and then we'll report back at our next meeting with you. Speaking of our next meeting is June 14th. That's our next regularly scheduled meeting. We do have a pretty hefty agenda for you. That's going to be the Aquatic Center public hearings that are going to go along with that. Traditionally, at that first meeting in June, we have a budget workshop. So it's going to be a long night. Are you guys going to be comfortable having the workshop ahead of time and then moving into the council agenda?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So generally we started at 6. Can we ask you if we can maybe move that budget workshop up to 5:30? Does that work for everybody's schedule? We'll
Works for
have.
me.
Works for me.
Okay, Nick, I know you travel along.
You said that was the June 14th, right?
That'd be for June 14th.
I'll put on the calendar.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get that scheduled for 5:30, and then that gives it a good hour and 15 to do the workshop, and then you're going to be able to take a breather instead of rolling right into your next meeting. So I think that'll be helpful for you. So we'll make that adjustment on there. Just a reminder, Monday's Memorial Day, so city offices will be closed on that particular day. As I spoke to you on our next agenda, we're really focusing in on the measure that we're going to be submitting for the November ballot, and that's the Aquatic Center / community pool measure. So we're working with our attorneys on finalizing some final pieces on there. But everything will be ready for you on the 14th to move forward with that action. Reminder that June 7th is the election day, and now we don't have any local elections per se pertaining to the city of Newman, but it is an election day in here. The firehouse is not being used this year, so just, people that may be watching, just make sure you check your sample ballots and your voter information so you know where to go, because I think some of the locations have changed in terms of where you're voting at. So
Is that going to be something that's being permanent, Michael?
we don't know. We don't set the sites. That's the county
you
board.
don't?
No, county office of county clerk's office of registration or office of registrar.
Wonder how they
does
select
that,
the
so.
sites.
Yeah, some of it has to do with handicap accessibility, how many people in this area versus that area. So,
Well, but it's not that far from the firehouse.
My understanding is they're actually using Mustang Peak now instead of the fire department, and then they're going to also use the memorial building this year, as well as some other locations.
So.
Mustang Peak has some kind of meeting room or something where they're going to have happening there.
Yeah, I think that we need to get something out to the voters, because, that's going to be confusing, because if they don't look at their ballot and look at the address, which 99% of them won't, they're going to go to the firehouse.
generally, they do have signs out directing people to a polling place. So.
Yeah.
And we have signs for the fire department the county provided already. Keith has those. He'll put them
You
up the
can-
day of the election.
You can bet a lot of people will go there.
Yeah, we figured as much.
Prior to your next meeting, which will be Saturday, June 11th, will be our first movie night in the park, Finding Nemo. So, great movie. So, if you have an opportunity or if you know anyone who wants to go to that, we are requesting, we do have a subcommittee, infrastructure subcommittee, and it's made up of Councilmember Kennedy and Councilmember Casey Graham. Would like to maybe convene you two to take a look at a sewer study that we're doing right now, and maybe get your input. So at your opportunity, can you maybe talk with Lou a little bit and maybe try to coordinate your schedules on when we can meet on that. And then just lastly, Friday, June 3rd, softball day. So that's all I have here.
Anybody
Any-
have any questions, Mike?
Anything on mosquito abatement yet? Since we're starting to slowly come into summer.
We have not heard anything from them. We can check their website in terms of who they are. I know they've been in the area because they've contacted us about one of our property that we purchased on Braza Road.
Right.
So
I was just curious because we have the movie night in the park coming up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we generally let them know ahead of time. We'll
good deal.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Chief?
Evening, Mayor, council members. A quick update on what's been going on around the area. Last week would be the 17th of May. Stanislaus County Drug Enforcement Agency hit a large marijuana farm just outside the city near the river where they extracted approximately 19,000 plants. And I believe they had 6 people taken into custody from that thing. 1 week later, they came into the city of Newman, and yesterday they hit 3 houses simultaneously. They took approximately 800 plants and 4 people into custody. So the marijuana issue with the little mom and pop grows, it's still out there, and they're a little bit larger than mom and pop grows. That there were 3 houses converted specifically to grow marijuana in the same neighborhood. So with that, we also have our adoptions for pets, so you can find us on Facebook and Newman Animal Shelter or our Newman Police Department Facebook, and come and adopt a pet for the summertime. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just to let you know, if marijuana passes in November, you're going to have a lot more problems, which you already know. But
It's true.
like everyone's saying, that there's a good chance it will pass, and then it becomes law, a year later. So, stand by.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I just wanted to let the council know that there's been progress made on the dog park. They've been planting grass this week, and they'll continue doing so. So we're almost there. It's almost open. So I talked to Claire Souza and Keith Starr, and they're the two that have been leading the charge on this project. And through the assistance through a grant that we have, we've been able to get some additional materials in addition to all the donations that she was able to get. So the small dog side, which is the southern side, is ready to go. The grass is established. The northern side, which is the large dog side, is what's being planted right now. We had to wait because of the drought, so we didn't want to plant grass where it wouldn't survive. So now that our watering restrictions have eased up a little bit, we felt it was a good time to just finish it up and get it open to the public. So I hope to be able to have it unlocked for public use in the next couple months. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Steph?
Skate park?
Skate park is mobilized. In fact, they submitted their fire hydrant permit today, so they have water to spray everything down. They've received the CAD drawings from the engineer for the surveyor. Believe the surveyor's coming out next week for staking. Equipment is already out on the site, so they're moving along.
Good, thank you.
Newt, you have anything tonight?
Just copies of the budget's been placed before you. Cure for insomnia they are. If you have any questions on them, I'd be
Looks
happy
like
to
some
answer.
heavy reading.
Oh, yeah, 120 pages.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kassoon?
Yeah, good evening. There was a stormwater regional training for stakeholders in Central Valley of California last week. So the city was leading the training as a training committee chair. It turned out that was really successful because more than 100 stakeholders attended the whole day training last Thursday. So by leading the training last week, the city of Newman met several key requirements associated with stormwater, the permit year 3, without hiring some consultant. So that was really good to share all the resources. So for example, 9 speakers provided training for a whole day, including the state inspector. That was really good. And the state is planning to lift the emergency water conservation regulation in the future because the state wants each urban water supplier lead a water conservation effort. Sometimes it's good news, bad news, because some other cities must increase their water conservation effort even further. But at this point, the City of Newman met all kind of requirements, so we are going to keep our current water conservation effort in the future. Happy to answer to any question you may have.
So we're at 3 days a week watering right now?
Yes, yeah,
I know Modesto's at 2, so.
yes. But however, even though we have one more day, but still our water conservation result is really good because we already exceeded 24% requirement last 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. You're welcome.
Any questions from council? Fire chief?
Mayor, Council, good evening. Just want to let you guys know we did a table day out at the high school and recruited fire explorers. So we got a list of about 20.
Great.
I'm in contact with them now. We're going to do an open house at the fire station, tentative June 9th, just to kind of explain to them what the program's about, get parental input, and then supply applications. So we're hopefully going to have that program going here shortly. We did have a decent fire we assisted West Stanislaus Fire with over the weekend in Grayson, so I don't know if you guys saw the column, but one of our engines and then our water tanker went out there to help. We were out there for probably 6 to 8 hours assisting putting that fire out. So any other questions, here to answer.
You didn't get your new equipment yet?
Not yet. We're working with Patterson directly to get that equipment. There was a financing that had to be figured out, and then we're going to get it taken care of.
Very good.
I got nothing tonight.
Nothing? Okay. I have nothing. I just thank everyone for coming out tonight and enjoy the rest of the evening at home. With that, I'll ask for adjournment.
I'll move for adjournment.
Second.
Motion is made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
I saw that.